Anyway, yeah, JD Dunst is taking questions in Greenland right now, and we'll cover that right now. We'll go to JD Jedediah Vance right now as I blast off. You can let the people know, but here we are.
Do you see specific threats coming from China and Russia, things that you did not know about before? Are we talking battleships, icebreakers, any type of military equipment, or is it economic?
Well, I don't want to get too specific, but yes, we know that the Chinese are very, very interested in this island. We've seen some of the economic pressures that they've tried to place on Greenland. We know that they're increasingly engaging in military training and military interest. Certainly, they've started to describe themselves as a near-Arctic power, and I think part of that is justifying taking a further...
Where's the suit, bitch? Why aren't you wearing a suit? Disrespectful, showing your titties like that? Who the hell do you think you are? He thinks he's Zell Disney, bro.
It's a beautiful place. It has incredible people. It has its geographic placement makes it very important for the national security of the United States, but for world security. What we have to recognize is that if the Chinese and the Russians are going to pursue their national interest, we need a president who's going to pursue the American national interest, and that means ensuring that Greenland is safe.
When can we expect an update on the internal investigation into that signal chat leak? Has that investigation concluded, and what are the findings?
I think we'll get an update soon. Look, we take it very seriously. We all accept that a journalist should not have been invited into the chat, and members of the administration, including my dear friend Mike, have taken responsibility for it. I find the American media's obsession with this issue very, very interesting, because I happen to remember about 4 years ago when American military leadership made a catastrophic error that got 13 innocent Americans killed in Afghanistan and had about $80 billion of military equipment turned over to one of the worst terrorist organizations in the world. And for years, the American media...
Our best soldiers, Chad. It killed our best soldiers. No better soldiers than the ones that they killed.
That was meaningful and substantive about what happened. And now the same American media that covered for the Biden administration after the untimely death and the unnecessary death of 13 brave Americans is really, really interested in
67 brave American warriors in Afghanistan were killed under the Trump administration, only 13 under the Brandon. I'm going to go ahead and say maybe pulling out was the right idea, you know?
You've got another thing coming. President Trump has said it on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and I'm the vice president saying it here on Friday. We are standing behind our entire national security team.
Can I just ask you about
go ahead.
The tariffs? There's been some retaliation, some signals at least in the media that Canada is going to respond to the president's tariffs. What's your message for Americans that are going to see cost increase on auto manufacturing, new cars, that kind of thing? Is it Buy America, or what's the message going forward there?
Well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, for the Canadians, and we have many dear friends in Canada, and of course we love the Canadian people, but the Canadian leadership threatening retaliatory tariffs against the United States, as President Trump often says, they just don't have the cards. There is no way that Canada can win a trade war with the United States. What President Trump has said is that he wants to level the playing field. For decades, Canadian leadership has forced American farmers and American manufacturers to play by an unfair set of rules. All President Trump has said is that we're done playing by an unfair set of rules. If you're going to do something to our industries, then we're going to do something back to your industries. That's how you protect American manufacturing, and that's how you protect American jobs. Now, what I'd say to the American people is look, the president ran on this, and he said very clearly that we're done being the piggy bank of the entire world. For 40 years, in the same way that our European friends, I think, have neglected international security, for 40 years, a lot of our friends all over the world have used America as a piggy bank. They have used us to absorb all of their excess economic production. What does that mean for Americans? For Americans, that's meant manufacturing jobs declining. That's meant middle-class wages going down. That's meant whole towns that have been hollowed out by empty factories. And that means in America that is less safe because our manufacturing isn't as powerful now
as it
was
was ironic?
Years ago. I've got all these brave
He's not wrong about this point. I hate that it's these guys that are making this point, because he's literally not wrong about, I mean, he's angling it with like xenophobic, hyper-nationalistic, isolationist attitudes, but he's not wrong about manufacturing being shipped overseas and what that did to the middle class. It's just that this administration is directly antagonistic to labor as well. It's not like they're anti-business and pro-labor. And they're framing this not on the virtue of like bringing jobs back to the United States of America so that we can have a robust labor movement here, so we can have American workers succeed financially with one job like it used to be in the greatest days, in the glory days, in the post-World War II boom in America. But instead, it's just like, we need to punish these allies. We need to punish them for the deals that we signed with them at the behest of our capital owners. And we're still going to do a downward pressure on labor regardless of what we are doing with manufacturing. As H. Bizzle is chirping about in the chat, this admin is doing obvious, directly antagonistic things against labor unions, which is expected. I mean, this is going to be a very anti-labor administration. H. Bizzle screaming in the chat, going, he's a boomer. That's the reason why he uses all caps. We'll be discussing the largest attack on organized labor in U.S. history occurring last night with Trump stealing bargaining rights from over 1 million federal workers. This is yet another great example of like what the Trump administration is doing. Yes, I acknowledge your chat. We will talk about that as well. He just robbed like 1 million plus federal workers and their right to engage in work stoppages, expanding on like key sectors and their ability to do collective bargaining.
But he's talking about taking over Greenland. But your rhetoric today is more about encouraging the Greenlandic people to vote for independence. Do you think the rhetoric has changed about that, or what's your message there?
No, I don't think it's changed at all. Look, the president said clearly he doesn't think that military force is going to be necessary, but he absolutely believes that Greenland is an important part of the security, not just of the United States, but of the world, and of course the people of Greenland too. It's very simple. I think the president's been very consistent here from his State of the Union, from his inaugural address, and every public statement that he's made. This territory, Greenland, really matters for the security of the United States. It's extremely vulnerable right now, and if the people of Greenland were willing to partner with the United States, and I think that they ultimately will partner with the United States, we could make them much more secure, we could do a lot more protection, and I think they'd fare a lot better economically as well. This has to happen. And the reason it has to happen, I hate to say it, is because our friends in Denmark have not done their job in keeping this area safe. They just haven't done it. It's very simple for all of our friends in the American media.
Dude, it's awesome. I love this shit. Where are you at now, libtards? Go ahead. Tell me how. Go ahead. Tell me how this is different, you know? I mean, I like this because personally, they just say it out loud and they do it in such a stupid way. But like, this isn't all that different from the exact same rhetoric you would hear from the Biden administration either. Like, obviously, they wouldn't talk about like annexing Greenland. You know, they move the needle in the rightward direction even further, but, you know, the messaging is identical. It's like, oh, we got safety concerns. We're going to defend them. They clearly can't defend themselves. Safe from what? We are the #1 violent country. What do you mean safety?
Through self-determination to become independent of Denmark, and then we're going to have conversations with the people.
Oh my God. I said exactly the method that they were going to utilize and the messaging that they were going to utilize literally, what, 3 months ago when they first said this? Remember when they first talked about annexing Greenland? I told you, like, this is exactly point by point what they're going to say and do. We are going to liberate Greenland from the colonizers.
And you spoke about economic interests, how the U.S. could develop Greenland more economically. Could you speak a little bit more about that? I know Secretary Wright is here. Have you guys spoken about energy? Senator Lee is here as well. Just wondering what those discussions have been.
My point actually is that other countries have explicitly gone after Greenland, and I think with a mind towards economic exploitation. Sometimes asking Greenland to get itself into terrible economic debt traps that would make the people of Greenland not self-determined and sovereign, but to mortgage their future to hostile foreign countries that don't have their best interests at heart. That is not what the United States of America wants to do. What we want to do is to protect the security of this territory because it matters for us and it matters for the people who live here. All right, guys, thank you all. And let me just say one more final word to the Guardians, the Airmen, the other service members gathered here. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, it is incredible to be a vice president who has served just as our NSA, Mike Waltz, has served, to know the sacrifice that comes along with it, and to see that there are still incredible young Americans willing to put on the uniform and serve this country. You make America a better place, and you make an honor to serve as your vice president. God bless you guys. Thanks for having me.